For week 3, typically we would be discussing a lot of handouts and information that would have been provided in class, but in this current environment, you've got all the information provided here online, and I would encourage you to review it, as some of the information will be related to like your midterm, but it'll also be covered as well on like a review sheet that'll be provided in advance of the midterm when that day comes. Now, as we get into like why we care about this topic, well, research and development funding in the United States has historically been heavily supported by the federal government. And this article here in the journal Science, also known as Science Magazine, provides some information here on this topic. Again, Science, one of the top journals in the world. They provide articles that are more of like science news articles in addition to their research articles. And when we look at the science news that was provided, this article is dated from 2017, so it's possible if the trend continues or had continued, these numbers would be even further away from 50%. So the headline of the article was "Data Check, U.S. Government Share of Basic Research Funding Falls Below 50%. So the initial reading of that would be the United States government is reducing its expenditures. And that's not entirely true. So let's look at the figure that's provided here. And you see that the federal government had been increasing its expenditures for a good period of time, and then there were years of slight reductions. And to my knowledge, those reductions have not been able to be restored at the level that they would have been if you adjust for like inflation and all that. With that said, we see a rise in corporate expenditures, and expenditures by business towards research. We see universities and philanthropic organizations also having increased their expenditures. Still, the federal government is still the #1 funder of basic research in the United States. But when you would add up corporate, university, and philanthropic expenditures, these would sum to more than the federal expenditure, resulting in the federal government having less of a kind of cohesive, less strong support for where R&D goes in the United States. Again, this is also basic research, so there's a little bit of a difference there. So basic research comprises about 1/6 of the country's spending on all types of R&D. Applied research makes up another 1/6, whereas the majority, some $316 billion, is development. So applied research is another large area. I'm going to stop this so that you can make it a comparison between what basic research is versus applied research. All right, the NSF defines basic research as activity aimed at acquiring new knowledge or understanding without specific immediate commercial application or use. Applied research, which a lot of health research in the United States is this way, is aimed at solving a specific problem or meeting a specific commercial objective. So those are important items to consider. So some people describe the NSF mission as knowledge for knowledge's sake. It helps us figure out which questions we should be asking or we could be asking. And you can think of like a lot of work that's done in the basic sciences of like chemistry and biology and physics. That's kind of foundational. But not to say that those folks in those disciplines do not also have the ability to engage in applied research, whether they're trying to solve a specific problem or to commercialize their work. And industry, as you could imagine, would have a strong interest in these latter. So this is talking about basic science.